New patch update. Spectre changes right here. Okay, let's get through this. Support gem changes. Nothing we really care about. Iron War Nova radius changes. Unique changes. Item changes. Lower the rarity for Rabbit Idol. The essences. Unchanged on melee weapon. They're just making it so the haste one can't roll higher than the natural attack speed roll on bows and crossbows. That's a little bit of a nerf on the haste essence. Arbiter of Ash will now face transition at a lower life threshold and will heal to full during the transition. In the past, when he fought Arbiter, he would transition at 50% or whatever it is. So now you'll have to do more damage, and then he will heal to full during that transition. Unless you use Punctured Lung, I think. I know that's a thing. Enemies you fully armor break cannot regenerate life. Enemies you fully armor break are maimed. That might work. I know that works on other bosses that don't heal between transitions and stuff. But either way, I think this is pretty good for the game. You actually have to fight the fight. What else do we have before Spectres? Bug fixed. Issue causing explosive shot will remove fully broken from enemies. Escape shot. A bit of a buff. Okay, fine. Ice tipped arrow. Significant buff. Okay. Row amount no longer increasing movement speed. Okay, in bold. Now, they did it. They actually increased the spirit reservation cost for the row. Okay. Okay. I didn't think that was going to make it in, but it's there. All right. So, Spectres then. Oh, Spectres. Let's see. Whew. First, we go to Trudy's website, PoE2SpectreWiki.com. Let's go through it. What do we have? Adjusted the following monster and subsequently their Spectre variant. Frost Wraith got lowered Spectre cost and reduced cooldown of some skills. And we do this. Okay, these are Frost Wraith, Range Caster, Cold Hit, base Spear cost is 71. And it said that they lowered the cost, so lower than 71. And cooldown on some abilities. Okay, so these are the Spectre. These are the Wraiths that, they dash towards you and then they explode. We have something similar to this in PoE 1 in the sewers, for example. It's the, so these do the same thing in PoE 2, where they basically they dash forward and they explode. But the dash has a 4-second cooldown and the explosion have a 7-second cooldown. So based on this information, it seems it's more likely that the reduced cooldown on some skills is referring to lowering this to match this, which means that they won't dash to a target and then do nothing, but start casting their cold projectile. It seems like they're going to make it so that when they dash, they will explode as well. And then lowered spirit cost. The result of this is they're not going to be that good. So we really don't give a shit about it. And here's some... display of how they operate and how they look from Trudy. Big shout out to him, by the way. See the explosion? That explosion right there, the radius around him. So what they tend to do is dash into the target, then explode. But they seem to be doing the explosion without dashing to the target as well, which is kind of awkward. Was there any AI improvement? Okay, they have AI improvement here, but that is not part of the Frost Wraith. So I guess as long as they're within range, they don't dash, which is kind of awkward. But that's a thing. Either way, I don't think that's going to be very good. Then we have Lightning Wraith, which is just lowered Spectre cost. We're going to Lightning Wraith. 100 Spirit base cost. They just lowered the cost of these. Chain 10 times Pierce. Because these are the single projectile spark casters. Spooky Ghost Lightning Bounce is called. That's the ability. This is a spark ability, by the way. You can probably see it here in Trudy's video. Yeah. It's just a 10 chain single spark projectile. Yeah, I do wish they told us how much spirit they would cost. Like, why not just give us the numbers, right? Spark without piercing. No, there's piercing. What are you talking about? It literally says pierce all targets. It doesn't even have a limit to pierce. The problem with them is how bad they are. On the other hand, they do have increased chances of shock, but I mean... yeah, the basically True is saying here, high chance of shock but very low damage. It's just lowering the cost of this, not going to change anything. Vaal Vultures. This is okay. So for those of you who don't know, this is a Spectre I'll be looking at to hopefully replace the ants. because they do pretty good clear, especially in breach content. But I never liked the damage output that they have. So the changes here is lowered Spectre cost and improved monster AI. These are the leaping bird-like creatures. They have a base cost of 93 spirit, which is now going to be lowered. And the damage numbers on a 90 monster level scaling is pretty sad. It's pretty sad. But you'll see the footage here for how they operate. They're actually pretty good. The big damage they do is when they leap. And they're, you know, okay on movement speed. But they leap quite aggressively. And that is part of the... with proper... Disgusting, Trudy. Disgusting drop right there, sir. So with proper supports, they can actually do very, very good clearing in general. However, their on-hit single target damage output is kind of ass in general. But they can be made to be pretty decent in terms of clearing. We see that in the past, some people have run breach encounters where they're running the Vaal vultures for the sake of clearing, then weapon swapping into death knights for single targets. They're possible. It kind of depends on the spirit cost and how well we can perform with them. Then we have the Ferrodon Impaler, who got monster AI improvements and lowered Spectre cost. So both of those things could mean that Ferrodon Impaler is something we're going to play with. The problem with Ferrodon Impalers is that they had too many abilities, and then they started doing their default attack, but it's not really their default attack. It's something that is called like a jab or something. We'll take a look at it here and you'll see it. And that jab has a modifier, if I recall correctly, that reduces the damage they're doing. I'm pretty sure. Base cost 93, by the way. So if you look at this, they have... this is basically their default attack. Then they have the spear throw with an 8-second cooldown. Then they have this is the spear throw damage source, which is coming from this. Then they have the impact off the spear throw. And then we have an arena left elite. I don't know what this is referring to. Same thing here. Same thing here. Their cascade ability has a 10-second cooldown. And according to this, there was no lowering of cooldowns. And then this is the shit they start doing. When they don't do the other abilities properly, even when it's off cooldown, they use this. And this has a 60% less attack damage. And can't even stun enemies. It's terrible when they start doing this. However, with improved AI, I'm assuming that they're going to use these things more reliably off cooldown. But it will still be the cooldown, which is not mentioned here. I'm not sold. I'm not sold on these being good. But visual clarity is terrible with the... Yeah. As you can see. Visual clarity, by the way. And I imagine having, 8, 10 of these. But they look cool. I think that they have to be tested. They look really cool, yeah. But you can see here their damage. That's when they're jabbing, which deals like no damage. It's very low damage. And when they use their abilities, they do good damage and good area coverage. The problem is the inconsistency of it. They remind me a lot about the PoE 1 Spectre that has the same problem, which is the Kitava Heralds. It's just too many attacks for them to be reliably scaled on one end, which makes them inconsistent in their performance. Their bleed is good, but not enough DPS. Well, the problem with that is that the bleed don't stack, right? Then we have Bramble Hulk, which I believe are just way too slow to even give a fuck about, but they got improved AI and reduced cooldown on some skills. So if improved AI means they're faster, then maybe we can look at them. But I'm pretty sure they're fucking terrible in movement speed. They have a base cost of 84, which was not touched, but they reduced the cooldown on some abilities. If you then look at the Bramble... they first off have a medium movement speed, which means they're kind of to be fair. Their attacks, the patch note said reduce cooldown. They have a Hulk Slam, which is basically the only thing that deals reasonable damage from them, which is on a 6-second cooldown that deals 100% more attack damage. This ability is very likely still going to be on cooldown, but it will likely be in a position where that's the only time they actually do decent damage. And it's just double the damage on the regular attacks, plus the AoE coverage, right? So it's like, I'm not sure. And then they have the Hulk's Leap Slam, or Bramble Hulk Leap Slam Leap. Leap Slam Slam Leap. 10-second cooldown on that, which is likely also lowered. But again, it's just going to make them close the gap more often. But if you look at the footage, I'm pretty sure they're just too slow. Look at the movement speed. Let's get when he's running up to that pack. Look at that. Like, you're up on the face of the enemies before the minions even react to them. And then they do this Unga Bunga, slamming their chest like a gorilla kind of thing, which is not buffing you or anything. And according to the PoE DB, it's like an enrage effect on them, which I'm assuming is increasing their damage a bit. But as long as their movement speed is this, I'm not sure they're going to be good. The improved AI, I mean, they got to make them faster. But they're not all, like, improved AI doesn't mean that they're increasing their movement speed. That just means that they're adjusting their behavior. Obviously, we'll double check these things once the data mine file is out so we can go through the database again to see if they did change the medium movement speed to fast, because maybe we can use them at that point. Skeletal Reaper is likely the Night Gaunt Spectres, because I believe they have a hidden name being Skeletal Reaper. Improved monster AI, rebalance monster power, resulting in a lower Spectre cost. Yeah, the Night Gaunts. Rudy's already set up the site to be perfect for this. Click to rate the Spectre. Sorry. Base cost 91 spirit. Patch notes did say that they're lowering the spirit cost of them. So these are the really cool looking scythe wielding specters or minions that are emerging like a bat form or something, like 10-second cooldown. There's no notes about them lowering the cooldown. They look like this. They look amazing, by the way. So if they rebalance monster power, look how slow they are. Look how fucking slow they are. And then they have to fly over. Even the emerge thing is slow. They are tagged with very slow movement. And as a result of being very slow, utilizing them as a Spectre, we talked about this last time we talked about Spectres in depth like this. As long as the minion moves slow, they are basically dead on arrival. We can't use them. They're terrible because of mobility. So we're just going to not use these. Then we have Cultist Archers. Let's see. Cultist Archers have been something that a lot of people like for clearing. I've always complained about them being reliant on a cooldown. So sometimes they do good clearing and good damage. And then they're like, I'm not going to do shit till my cooldown's back up. And it's really annoying. They have a base cost of 60. And the patch notes is saying monster AI, whatever. Reduced cooldown. Ooh. Reduced. Wait, hold up. So here, this ability right here. 8-second cooldown on the Rain of Spores. That's the one you clear with and do damage with. And it deals good damage, but 8 seconds. And cooldown recovery, 1 gives 20 or 25% better cooldown recovery, and cooldown recovery 2 gives 30%. Which means you could do that with this, but they were still kind of ass because you had to wait 8 seconds minus the cooldown recovery, right? And the skill tree offers growing swarm for another 20%. So it's like, and they were always really annoying to play with personally. But they are really, really, really strong when they use this, right? And they look like this, so you guys can see them in action. See how the movement speed is significantly better than the Night Gaunts? And watch this purple shit now. That ability right there. This ability is the one that deals good damage. Slight delay on damage output, but we're used to that from Vaal guards. But with this ability having 8-second cooldown, they're very frustrating to use. But if that cooldown is lowered and we can add cooldown recovery support to them, they could actually be a possibility or a possible contender. Finally, getting over that threshold of, hey, they were kind of annoying to use because they were only good when they used the ability, and that was not often enough, to they are using them often enough to actually be used. And yes, that is chaos damage. It converts 100% of physical to chaos, and they have base chaos damage over time effect as well as they explode. And those things overlap, by the way. And does really good damage. Like, it's very, very good. We might actually play Cultist Archers. It is a very, very high possibility that we play Cultist Archers because of this. All right, so Cultist Archers looking promising. What else do we have? Black Strider. That sounds like one of the... yeah, these are Titan Growth, Ashen Forest. It's the Barrage guys with the web. Yeah, these are the Mortars. These are the Mortar guys. Fast movement, by the way. Okay, what's Passionate saying? Rebalance monster power, resulting in lower spirit cost. Improve monster AI. Increase the web mortar skill damage. This ability is on an 8.5 second cooldown. When they do this, they basically shoot mortars in front of them in like a crescent moon, like this. And when they do that, dude, melee players are gonna fucking die to this. They already do a lot of damage. And according to the patch notes, they are increasing the web mortar skill damage. So if you're a melee player, you will have to be careful with these spiders. Yeah, they look like kind of spiders, right? So when they use the mortar, get the fuck out of it or stun the target, because they will do a lot of damage. This is already doing tons of damage. The problem with using them as specters is the 8.5 second cooldown, which the patch note is saying that they're reducing cooldown. And the only skill they have that has a cooldown is the mortar. Which is weird why they say sum of skills, because that's the only skill that has a cooldown. Now the question is that enough to make them viable? So the thing is, the area coverage of the web mortar is significantly lower to that of Vaal guards, powered zealots, cultist archers. And cultist archers, we've already confirmed that with a lower cooldown and cooldown recovery support could be a possible good contend and like absolutely a potential choice to run with. Even if they make this cooldown shorter than the cultist archers cover so much more and overlap so much better than what these are doing. I don't think we'll run them, but they do tell us that the increased damage here is kind of scary for melee players. All right, let's look at Mud Simulacrum. Slam damage is more consistent and reduce the cooldown of some skills. 72 spirit, no mention of spirit cost. Oh, it's these guys. We're not going to play with them because these mud golems, they are super slow. Like absolutely giga slow. Like you can't use them. Even if you were to put them in a wheelchair and try to push them forward, it would not be good because even that would be too slow. Like they just, no. You want to see what the terrible movement speed Spectre looks like? Watch this. Oh, you outran them after half a screen, so they have to like teleport over to you? Oh, I wonder why. Maybe it's because they're very slow movement. No, they're terrible. We don't use those. Werewolf Prowler. They actually look cool. I remember testing these. Werewolf Prowler, base cost 64 spirit. They are, yeah, it's the Werewolf Prowlers, yeah. The damage is terrible on these, though. Here's the thing. If they had said increased attack damage, I would have been excited. Because they AI-wise, they're not very tanky, by the way. They're not very tanky at all. But they look cool. Watch this. And their APS was what, 1.5, right? No, sorry, attack time 2.25. Like they're not terrible in terms of behavior. But if they said increased attack damage, then I'd be like, let's check out how much they got buffed. But because they wrote slightly increased damage, we're just never going to use them. It's just a sad reality. We're just not going to use them. Bit of a shame, actually. They're pretty cool, though. I like the way they look. Ancient Ezomite. Adjusted the lightning arrow skill to correctly be attack damage. Oh. These are the guys that were like scaling with caster spell damage instead of attack damage, right? So I believe they had an issue where they weren't scaling properly, and that just means that the lightning arrow is now properly scaling lightning damage. They're still not going to be very good. You can see them in action here thanks to Trudy. If behavior-wise, keep in mind these footages from Trudy is not there to showcase the potential max DPS you can do with them. They're just showing the mechanical and behavior approach of them. But yeah, as you can see. Remember what I said about slow movements? Yeah. And that is a very slow movement tag. And we're just never going to touch them as a result of that. I'm missing chat. Hi, GHAZZY. Wanted to say my beard is more sexy than your beard. I'm sorry to say that. You need some biotin to boost your growth. Good luck. Anyways, Brimstone Crab. Reduce cooldown of some skills. Let's have a look at the Brimstone Crab. Brimstone Crab, 55 spirit, which means they're very likely very squishy. We double checked this in the past. They were very squishy like the Prowlers. What else was attached? They just said reduce cooldown. Let's find out the cooldown. Death Mortar with a shell, Fire Hose, Trigger Roll, 8-second cooldown. What was the text again? Was it damage or cooldown? Just cooldown. So this might be seeing a lower cooldown. They have a flame. Oh, now I know which ones these are. So they look pretty cool actually, and their flamethrower is doing surprisingly good damage. But because of the cast time and not being long enough for them to consistently burning shit, they have a little window of that, and they have a massive cooldown on it. Even if that gets down to less than half, it would still be kind of ass. But we can take a look at them in action here, and you'll see them. You see that flame? It looks really cool, right? But area coverage with it, and the mobility of them, the movement speed they have, and all those aspects is just making these complete ass to use. So they're too slow. They have a cool looking ability, but you know, damage wise and the cooldown wise, they're just ass. So yeah, I mean, they look cool, I guess. There's that. Next one is Mar Acolyte, improved monster AI and reduced cooldown. Mar Acolyte, 67 base spirit costs. Medium movement, so we'd have to double check them. What was the text again? AI reduced cooldown, which means they have the throwing fire has a 3.5 second with a conversion of 100%, and they have the Mar Acolyte slam with an 8-second cooldown, which converts 40%. Remember that's okay. So they look really cool when they sling their weapon and shoot out the fire stuff. It actually look really cool when they're fighting. You see this? Like, that looks really cool. I just don't think that with the reduced cooldown that they will be good enough to use, because what happens is this: once this is on cooldown and then this is on cooldown, they'll revert to this unless the cooldown reduction is so drastic that they will be able to spam, for example, the throwing fire on a consistent basis. I don't think they're going to be used. The other problem is this is not doing good damage. Like, I don't even know what to say there. Yeah, they look cool though. They look cool. I mean, I'm not saying that they're not going to be good, but we have to check the cooldown. If they can spam the ability and we'll have ways to scale fire in a better way, then maybe. The problem is 100% conversion kind of locks it in place, but I'm not sold on them being a possible contender. We'll keep our eyes on them, but that's about it. All right, next one is Quadrilla got just improved monster AI. I don't know about Quadrilla personally. I'm not a fan. 84 spirit. Those of you who haven't seen a Quadrilla in action, looks like this. If he can find any enemies. There you go. Yeah, it's more of a tame beast thing, more so than a Spectre. We've all seen them in action. I think it's more about tame beasts and Spectres on this end, at least personally. So if you look at the text, it just said improved monster AI, and they have a few abilities with some cooldowns on this as well. With the Quadrilla charge thing, and then they have the taunt thing. I'm not sure how well that is being used, or if that's just a cosmetic kind of thing. But it's just improved AI. Basically, they'll do their abilities better. They'll be more aggressive, whatever. We don't know exactly the exact impact on the AI changes. The problem with the only thing that can make them good would be like the whole what Lola should say it actually in chat right now with the shockwave tech and the AI changes. I mean, we'll have to keep our eyes on them, but I think it's more about a tamed beast approach being attractive more so than Spectres from my at first glance. Then we got two of the iron monsters. We got Iron Sharpshooter, who got AI and reduced cooldown. Iron Sharpshooter, base cost 64. What was the text again? It was AI cooldown. Yeah, AI cooldown. The pretty squishy. Movement speed is mediums. We got to check the video. The sniper. Oh, right, it's these fuckers. Okay, so they have a 10-second cooldown on a range barrage sniper laser. The sniper laser is terrible damage. Is this one right here? Which seems to be like a fast ticky hits, more so than a damage over time thing. If this one is being used more often, that's terrible because it actually deals shit damage. The barrage thing is kind of meh. Damage-wise, they're kind of irrelevant, but most importantly, they're kind of slow when they're using these abilities, and the abilities don't really have a good trajectory when it comes to actual damage output. You'll see it clearly in this footage here. Mobility is kind of bad. That's a laser. You see how bad that is? They look cool though. They look like the titty bitches from PvP1. The tentacles. So the patch notes say that reduced cooldown. That means they're gonna use that shit more often, and it's ass. So yeah, now how about now? Iron Thaumaturgist, improved AI, reduced cooldown. Let's have a look at this. Iron Thaumaturgist, base cost 67. These guys are medium movement speed. No, they're fast movement speed. I take it back. So these are the... Oh, maybe these could be at least looked at. Because they're making some changes like incinerate and whatnot on the flamethrower. I'm not sure if flamethrower would apply to the incinerate change, but that's for ignitions. And you're stacking them, they don't stack. It'll be individually calculated, and that's kind of whatever at this point. But this ability is actually cool for area coverage or clearing. When they use this, they feel like they do no damage. They look cool though. I'll show you here. They look cool. You see that fire? It's like, it really is whatever. But you'll see when they go up, and you saw the guy in the corner. You'll see it here now as well, where these guys are going to use the flamethrower ability. That actually looks pretty cool, but I don't think it's going to be a good mechanical ability to use for a Spectre situation. And you guys, use your flamethrower. There. You see that shit? It's good, but it also seems to be the kind of ability. Not only does it have an 8-second cooldown, which they are now lowering, but it seems like the enemies have to be close enough for them to do that. If they're not close enough, then they'll shoot their projectile instead. So that's an AI-related issue, but it says improved monster AI. So we don't know what impact that has, but since the damage numbers are kind of ass, I'm not sure if they're going to be something we're going to care about using. The movement speed is okay on them, though. So there's that. Next up, we have Fungal Proliferator. Improved AI, reduced cooldown. Did they really put Volgar's last? Okay. Fungal Proliferator, 84 spirits. These are dead on arrival. I know which ones these are. It's the Fungal Beast, and they have the whole Cascades Vomit thing. Patch note said improve monster AI and reduce cooldown. It doesn't matter. And the reason it doesn't matter is because of this tag right here. Right there. That tag. Look at their movement speed and you'll see why. One eternity later. I can't look at it. I just wanted to not have the movement speed on the monsters be the same when there's a monster versus when there's a Spectre. I think Spectre should override that. Saber Wolf with the $5 donor. Thanks so much. Do you think we'll get golems if so in PoE2? Not anytime soon, at least. I don't think so. All right, Volgards. You guys were talking about Volgards. Let's see. Wait, it wasn't grenades that's getting changed, right? Yeah. Volgard grenade. Volgard grenade. Face Spirit 50. All right. Well, I don't have to show the footage. Well, actually, I could show you the footage as well. Okay. So, what is actually happening to the Volgards? You guys ready? Volgards, which throw oil and explosive grenade, now have an 11-second cooldown on their oil grenade, previously 2 seconds. How many in chat think this is making them bad? Wait, actually, how about this? Is it a W or is it an L? Just spam up the chat, and if you're watching this on YouTube, before continuing with this video, let me know in the comments if you think that this was an L or a W. And I will explain it all for you. It's not actually super simple, but it's simple. Okay, so what made Volgards so freaking good is because of their explosive grenades, right? But it says that they now have an 11-second cooldown on their oil grenade, not their explosive grenade. The explosive grenade has a 2-second cooldown. That is why when you played Volgards, that they would cast their grenades, and you'll see like, wait, I did like no damage. And then 2 seconds later, they'd shoot the grenades, and now the entire fucking screen exploded. That is because they were alternating. We gave them attack speed to make sure they kept alternating, so that every time they casted their grenades, their explosive grenades, they would do damage, and then they would immediately cast their oil grenades, and that did like no damage. And then the next attack would be the grenades that did tons of damage. What they're doing now is that they will cast their grenade that deals a stupid amount of damage, then they'll cast their oil grenade, and now the oil grenade is on an 11-second cooldown, and the oil grenade is what covered the entire screen in fire. So visual clarity should be noticeably better with Volgards as a result of this, which means your GPUs can no longer fry eggs. You actually have to bring your eggs to a frying pan on your stove in the house. You can no longer use your Starforge PCs as a kitchen. Now, I know Starforge PC does basically everything you could ever ask for in the entire universe, and they are, in fact, the best PCs on the planet for minion builds. I know that. Either way. Oil grenades. So, what impact does this have then? There's a couple of issues that this brings to the table. So let's have a look at it. First, I'm going to show you the visual clarity that you're no longer going to endure 24/7 on the screen. These are oils. You see the oil? Boom. Boom, boom. You see this fire? That comes from the oil being set ablaze. That will only happen every 11 seconds now instead of every 2 seconds. Which means you're not going to cover your entire fucking screen in fire and walking through Dante's fucking Inferno in every map. Okay? That's basically what's happening. However, no mentions on AI improvement, no mention on any other changes except for this. Which means it's a big win, right? Not just a win. So the reason the Valguard grenades were so strong and why there are very few minions out there that can compete with these guys, something like Powered Zealots, which I'll probably play with, based on this information we have right now, Powered Zealots is definitely up there, or the Cocaine Ants we've been using, also known as Frozen Mandibles. The reason they have been competitive is because of this modifier right there. That modifier is saying that these grenades, not only are they considered mortars, or grenades are pseudo mortars, they deal 340% more damage. That is multiplying the damage you're doing by 4.4. That's a lot of damage. And then you can splash it. So that's why we use extra projectiles. It's ridiculous. This is one of the main reasons why many other Spectres cannot even come close to competing. But the visual clutter has been tremendously annoying. A lot of people can't play them because of the fire stuff that's going on, using them for leveling and whatnot. But with this change, the oil trap, or the oil version of this, it's only every 11 seconds. So let me paint up a picture. These two here is only when they die, and that's irrelevant. So we're only looking at these three things. That's their default attack, the grenade that explodes, and their oil grenades. Now, what's going to happen? Your minions moves up. There's a boss in front of you. They will start... And I would assume, based on me playing them and what we've seen in footage and me playing them, that they actually have an AI that prioritizes the usage of their oils. So they're going to start a fight by throwing their oils. That deals like no fucking damage, because this modifier don't exist here. And it's really freaking annoying. They also lose a little bit of exposure from this, because the exposure is now only every 11 seconds. So this will then apply the first cast. Now that's on 11-second cooldown. Now, based on your attack speed for these guys, they will then shoot their grenades, which is the explosive grenades, which will do tons of damage. Now, no matter how fast attack speed you have, what will happen now? The third thing they do, they've moved up, they've thrown their oil grenades, they've then thrown their explosive grenades, tons of damage, the world is ablaze. But now their oil grenade is on a 9-10 second cooldown, and your grenade attack is now on a 2-second cooldown. What do you think they will do? They are going to move into enemies and start swinging like their life depended on it. So they're going to move up into melee range. However, growing swarm on the tree right there has 20% CDR. Sorry, I'll try to avoid abbreviations. There's 20% increased cooldown efficiency, or cooldown rate, or recovery rate. There's a support gem called cooldown recovery as well. This one gives another 30%, and before that is 25%. Now, since you cannot get 100% cooldown recovery, means you have no cooldown. That means that for 2 seconds to go down to 1 second is equivalent to 100%, right? So that means if you give them 50% cooldown recovery, then they should have a 1.5 second cooldown on their attack, which is their attack time. Sounds good, right? It means that they would be casting this all the time. Well, the problem with that is that you are going to inevitably give them attack speed. Oh, but guess you can remove the attack speed. You don't have to take these attack speed nodes right here. You don't have to take them at all. And you can skip the attack speed over here as well. Just don't take those. You can go into this cluster through here instead. Oh, that is so smart, right? Skip these. So that's what I thought last night as well. But it's completely fucking retarded to do that, simply because we are going to use Pain Offering. And Pain Offering gives quite a lot of minion damage that you don't want to sacrifice. And Pain Offering does give increased attack and cast speed. So you are going to use Pain Offering, which means you're not going to be trying to balance their attack speed based on their cooldown. However, we are going to skip using rapid attack support for them. We used rapid attacks before on them, simply because we wanted them to make sure that every cast they did, or every other cast was the oils, and every other cast was the grenades. But when they got too much attack speed, we're in a position where like that was balanced, right, with more attack speed. So that was fine to do with the cooldown on it. The problem we have now is that we don't want to give them too much attack speed. So if we skip rapid attacks and we have the cooldown recovery, maybe I'm off on the calculations. Chat's saying that 50% recovery would be 1.33 seconds, which is actually even better than I'm off on the math there. I apologize for that. All I'm saying is you skip rapid attacks in favor of cooldown recovery. What would happen then is you're trying to minimize the time gap between, hey, my grenade is ready to be cast again, versus, yo, I'm out of ammo. I'm going to run in and suicide into the monsters like one of those explodey pigs in Act 1, right? So basically, you try to balance that a little bit. You don't have to think about it too much. All you need to know is we don't use rapid attacks on them. I mean, instead, we use cooldown recovery. That's all there is to it. And you still use Pain Offering. And the result will be that they will cast their grenades, honestly, more often than they did before. More often. Because now they're not interrupting their grenade, which is a 1.5 base attack time, to cast their fucking oils every second cast. So instead, you'll actually get more damage at the same time as we get better visual clarity. The only thing that's happening is slightly losing some damage numbers because of the exposure loss from the oil trap, which is now, instead of being basically every pack, instead of every 11 seconds. But they should theoretically, based on what we calculated, have significantly better performance, significantly better visual clarity, and do more damage. They might even be competitive to like powered sellers or something after we play test them with CDR, right? It should work. Obviously, we'll have to play test these things, but theoretically, based on these information, like, that's just the way it is. They removed it. Where is that in the patch notes? At 0.3? What? Have I missed this? Oh, chat's correcting me in the middle of me going through this. I need a link for this. Dude, I missed this. I missed it. But how was it removed? Because I've been in game and looked at the skill. The only person thinking this is a nerf for Vaal guards is P. Diddy, #LessOil. I'm going to log into the game and verify. I take your word for it, but I'd like to see it myself. Just to verify, because I've completely missed that they changed that to cooldown recovery. I'll take your word for it. No, I'm saying, like, I'm already on board with what you're saying. The thing is, I'd like to verify things I say myself as well, because I don't want to spew things out. If I'm uncertain, I'd rather verify it. You guys are telling me that they changed it, and I might have missed this. I want to make sure I verify this so that I know for a fact moving forward. Because I don't want to tell people one thing when I might as well just go in and verify it real quick. It's just better for everyone. I'm human, shit. I make mistakes. Everybody does. Wait, that's a spirit gem. Let's see. Cooldown recovery. Cannot modify the skills of minions. It says right there. Cannot modify the skills of minions. All right, so that means we only have access to 20% CDR. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't really change any. Well, sorry, it does change something. It just means that we don't use rapid attacks and we don't use CDR since it doesn't work on them. Does multi-shot work? Yeah. We definitely use multi-shot. 100%. 100%. We definitely use it because we want to have extra projectiles. Multi-shot. So this one is less skill speed. This is less skill speed. There's a 25, 2 additional. So we use the number 2 because you triple your damage with it. But yes, it's less skill speed. It doesn't really matter too much because we're giving them 20 CDR. We have a lot of attack speed from these nodes. Well, that's not a lot, but if you look at Pain Offering in an endgame build, this is 34% increased attack cast speed. That's quite a lot. Either way, the end result is we just have to decide which support chip to use. So we're not using rapid attacks. We're not using cooldown recovery because chat corrected me on that. Thank you for that, by the way. That means we'll be using something else. This allows us to do a couple of things. One, we could use magnified area, magnified effects, and have larger AoE for clearing, and then changing that for a single target DPS skill. There's a couple of other ways to go full physical with it, which would be heft. There's a handful of other support chips we could use for this instead. And magnified area got buffed as well. They removed the downside. Correct. That's in the patch notes, actually. I can show you that. Magnified area no longer causes support gem to deal less damage, which would increase the probability of you overlapping your damage sources from the grenades, especially if the enemy is moving or have a small hitbox. And I believe that the 20% CDR would move the grenade cooldown to 1.67 seconds or whatever, right? That's what Lolash wrote to me as well, so I think that's accurate. I'm off on the math today. I don't want to say one thing now. 6, 7. Oh, fuck's sake. Vaal guards are seemingly pseudo buffed. Because in the past, what would happen is they would cast a grenade, then they cast their oils, then they cast a grenade to do damage. So damage, oil, damage, oil, damage, oil. Now it's going to be damage, oil, damage, 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 oil, damage, 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 damage. Like, that's basically what's going to happen, right?
Zombie, subscribe with Prime.
But we have to test them out because we need to see how bad will it be if they try too much to be like, hey, I cast my grenade to do damage, and now I have like half a second to go into melee range. Are they going to start running up to melee range? And if the enemies are on top of them, what happens then is that if there is a gap, they will start swinging. And if they start swinging, they have to finish swinging before they cast a grenade again. And I think it's going to be fine because it's going to be a net gain of DPS in the end. Because most of the times, they're not going to interrupt their shit by melee attacking. But in the past, every time they interrupted their spammage or explosive grenades to cast their oil grenades instead. And more importantly, your GPU is not going to get fried because they're not going to cast oil grenades all the freaking time, lighting the entire screen on fire. So that's my take on the current Spectre changes. I don't know if they said anything about adding more. Like, are there more Spectre changes coming? Mandibles. Spectre variants, a certain monster in Act and their endgame variants. Further details on which monster have been adjustable and posted separately prior to release. I think that's it. I don't think they're going to post more. What do you guys think? Anyways, let me know in the comments below what you guys think of the Spectre changes, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe for more content, and I'll be back tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye.